Hooray. So this is the final module in the Google Generative AI certification program. It's been a series. We've looked at the Google Generative AI certification program. We've looked at the curriculum. We did an exhaustive section about the curriculum. We also started looking at the modules one after the other. When we looked at the different modules one after the other, we looked at beyond the chatbots. We looked at foundational concepts. We looked at navigating the landscape. We looked at transforming your work. And the last series was was an awesome series where we looked at how we could use AI to do prompt engineering, how we could better improve our prompts. We built something. We built a quiz system, right, that works, and we deployed it, though not in the best secured manner, but it works. Now, yes, so next question, how can generative AI transform businesses? Primary serve as advanced calculators, main purpose is to replace human, no. Okay, yes. So you see, we created this by employing role prompting, few shots, and prompt chaining. Those are the concepts we shared in the previous, and we can build this into something very complex. What is prompt engineering? The art and science of crafting inputs through generative AI models to produce desired outputs, method of securely deploying, no. Hardware optimization, training from scratch, no. So this should be my answer. So you see, it tells you the correct answer and tell you why it is the correct answer. We can also say it should tell us why other answers are not correct. As a trainer for so many years, more than a decade, this is one thing I also let my students know, because you need to understand how, why, when, where, and all of those W's, because it will help you better answer questions. Which of the following represent a significant challenge or ethical concern associated with generative AI? So they only understand structured data from database. They're limited to generating short factual statements. They can exhibit bias present in their training data, produce factually incorrect information, or generate harmful content. Yes, they're always perfectly accurate. So this is the answer. Now, that's why you have SAIF. In, I think, module 3, I talked about SAIF, the Google Secured AI Framework. Okay, so this is about it. It's a system, it works. You could test it out, softwareserver.com.ng. I'm going to trash this platform or this system in a few days or few hours. So once you get this video, watch it, you could test it out, and you can go through the same thing and attempt to see if you can deploy something like this. Let's look at the very last module, which is going to be how can you use generative agents to transform your organization. Now let's look at agent components. So agent components is going to include a reasoning loop, because there's a lot of reasoning going on for GenAI agents. Then you have tools. Then of course you have the model itself. What do you call a model? A model is just an algorithm that can help you predict, or can help you generate, or can help you do something. It's like a formula. So if you have the game plan, the formula to be able to achieve something, you can call it a model. If you want to build a stadium or a simple house, you create a model. You create a miniature version of what represents that thing you want to do. So that's what you call a model. Now, you have different types of agents. You have deterministic agents, agents that are built with predefined pattern action. So you have some kind of agents that intend to do only a certain thing. They can receive only a sample input. Imagine if you build an agent that is intended to calculate staff, payroll, salaries, allowances, and whatever. They can't do any other thing. It's just meant to deploy that kind of thing. So the only kind of input they're going to be requesting from you is going to be the staff ID, the staff, let's say the staff, maybe grade level, and maybe if the staff had overtime and at what point in time. So it's just going to generate, or it's just going to give you that response. Then you have the generative that is based on large language model. Why you call them large language models? Because the kind of data set that is being used to train them is quite huge. So why is it called large language model? Let's look at it. why is Gen AI built on LLM, and why is it called LLM? Give me a, so you see, I'm giving an example now. Give me a one sentence response. So I just want it to summarize everything. Give me the answer very straight. I don't want to overthink it. So let's see what our response is going to be like. Now, generative AI, particularly for text generation, is built on large language model because these models are trained on massive data sets. Like I said, that possesses billions of parameters, enabling them to understand and generate human-like language, right? So someone that is 50 years old, 30 years old, 40 years old, he's going to make better informed decision if he's properly trained. If he has a lot of information upstairs. So that's how large language models they work. Because you call a large language model because it's like a dictionary, it's like a data bank. It has a lot of things. So when you ask questions, it just goes back to the bank, look for the information, look at the relationship between each of them, create something and gives it to you. Now, experiment with Gemini API through Google AI Studio and Vertex AI Studio. So Google have these two studios that you could use to actually experiment. Now, reasoning loop, prompt engineering technique. So we are looking at more prompt engineering techniques. Here you talk about react, reason, and act. Allow the LLM to reason and take action on user queries. So you have chain of thoughts. Guide an LLM through a problem-solving process by providing examples with intermediate reasoning steps. So you can say, okay, I want to build something. So I needed to do this first between this. Okay, let me give an instance. Let's say I want to build let's say I want to build an e-learning management system that's very minified, right? And I want it to be simplistic, PHP, MySQL, and let's say Bootstrap on a regular cPanel hosting, right? So I'm giving it details, step-by-step actions, how it should flow in reasoning, right? So you're giving it the chain of thoughts. You're guiding it how to solve the problem, what to do after that. So tell me how to set up my environment. Tell me how to set up my development environment. Then let's have code base. So let's have the code. Next thing is let's know how to deploy it on the server, on cPanel. Let's know how to secure the code and prevent it from, cyber security threats. So you see, now we've prompt engineered, but we didn't just give a zero shot or a simplified prompt. You see, if you click on show thinking, you're going to find out that it's going to go through all of the steps that will be provided in building this system. So you see, e-learning management system, environment setup. So it's a install XAMPP. So if you're local environment, install XAMPP, go to this page, download it, install it, start the services, access this. If you're on WAM, if you're on MacBook, all of this. You need a basic integrated development environment. You can use VS Code, that's what I use, or Sublime. Make sure you have the Bootstrap CDN. You have all of that, all of those steps, right? So this is the first step, right? So you could go through the process one after the other, and that's going to help you better deploy that system. Now, you have meta prompting. So meta prompting is using prompt to guide the AI model to generate, modify, and interpret other prompts. Now, so in this case, you're trying to guide. just like in a chain of thoughts. So you're trying to use prompting, because all of it is still prompting. Either you're trying to do reason acts, you're trying to do chain of thoughts, you're trying to do meta prompting, you're trying to do few shots, multiple shots. Whatever you do, all we're saying is that all of these things help the reasoning loop of the AI model. You see? So show thinking. So this is what it's doing. I'm currently focused on initial project setup. Next thing is I'm analyzing your scope and strategy, how you want to go about it. I can say, okay, what's the next step? What's the next step? From the result, I can see that it's just done the first part. So we can move to the next step, and that's how. So it's not telling me, okay, this is how to do my database setup, this is my sample database, and all of that. So you see, it didn't just ask an empty-ended question without direction. You use those prompt engineering techniques. And if you apply this, you can do very awesome stuff. Tooling, so you have extensions, you have functions, you have data stores, you have plugins. So all of these things can aid your deployment. So when you talk about extensions, so you can use this via the API. So if you're a programmer, you can explore this. Of course, if you're a programmer, you can also explore functions. So functions are just certain code base in your application that can do a certain thing. You can say you have a function that calculates payroll, a function that updates the wallet, a function that sends an email, a function that, so you can have several functions in a script that can do different aspects of an application. Then of course you have plugins. Plugins most of the times are just the mini applications that are like add-ons that you can add to your application. A very simplified explanation is when we put, let's say, yes, when we have a website, we want to add, let's say, e-commerce, or we want to add chats, like a chat gateway. This normal chat system you have by the corner of the website that you can interact with somebody. Those are additional plugins. Okay, now another thing we're going to look at is retrieval augmented generation. We've talked about it earlier on, so but here we just understand how it works. In retrieval, it retrieves relevant information from external sources. Like I said, augmentation, it's now incorporated into the prompt. Generation, it now generates a response. And of course, you could do a lot of reiteration. The idea is that anytime you hear about retrieval augmented generation, we're just saying that the training data that we have is not sufficient to give us our response. So we want to get something from an external source to add to it so that we can have better response. Now, for your exam, you need to understand that Google have what we call the contact center as a service. You know, anytime you hear something as a service, what it means is that you have a whole solution and you're not buying it off. You're just only paying on demand. You're paying for only what you need. That's what you call as a service. So you can have contact center as a service, you can have storage as a service, computer as a service, software as a service. You have so many things you can have as a service. If you have data storage as a service, what it means that you shouldn't be buying a 1 terabyte or a 10 terabytes hard disk or SSD. You could just pay per month, or pay for 5 days, or pay for 30 days, or pay for a year. So a fraction of what you would have spent if you were going for the entire hardware. Same thing for a contact center. So to deploy a contact center is so much. So you need telephone lines, you need agents, you need the chat software, you need a lot of things. You need voice recording, you need transcription. So you could use Google's contact center as a service, which is now made available for people to use via the customer engagement suite. So what are the components? So you have conversational agents, agent assist, conversational insights. For your exam, you should be able to differentiate these three. I think in my exam, when I wrote it, I found some questions that have to do with conversational insight, agent assist. So for your exam, you prepare and understand their differences. So for this one, conversational agents, chatbots to your customers. Agent assist, support your human contact service agent. Let's say you want to do transcription and you get, or you have a lot of chats, you have a lot of customer chats, and you want to segment this chat with respect to the inquiries they are making. So an agent assist can do that for you. Therefore, conversational insights, you want to gain insight to all the communication with your customers. You want to do some charts, some bubble charts, some graphs to say, okay, more customers are requesting for this, more customers are requesting for that. So that's conversational insight. Now for AI search, it's for recommendation solutions to your business. So you have a lot of data, so you can search just like you have Google search. You can search and get insights from that. Then you have AgentSpace. This is a very possible exam question. Here you're looking at having internal systems and you want agents that can access and understand all of this data so that internal persons within your organization, they can better query, they can better understand. Now, understand that to plan your Gen AI strategy, you need to have a clear vision. You don't just start using AI. You need to have a clear vision of what you want to do. What I like to do is you look at your entire business processes. Look at your entire business processes. What do you do? Are you into e-commerce? So for e-commerce agencies, what they do is that they source for products, inventory, they create product description that are SEO friendly. They create pictures for their products. They create maybe comparison charts. They create a lot of things that they do. These are your business processes. The question you're going to be asking yourself is, there are 4 major things that generative AI can do from our very first module. They could help you create content. They could help you summarize content. They can help you discover. They can help you do what? Automate. For AI strategy in an organization, what you want to look at is mostly, can I create, can I summarize, can I discover, can I automate? I love automation a lot. I hate repetitive tasks. So the idea is, how can you use it to automate most of the things you're doing? So you need to now sit down, have a strategy, have a clear vision, prioritize all of the use cases, invest in capability. So people need to understand how to implement some of these things. Your team have to be trained. You have to manage change. That is moving from your conventional system to this system up to when you now fully automate. You need to measure the value that you are deriving. You need to champion responsible AI. And one way you could champion responsible AI is using the SCI framework. So the SCI framework from Google tells us how best we can use, have a kind of a secure system, especially security. Security is very, very key when you're looking at AI usage. I hope this series have helped you prepare for the exam on the generative AI certification. And I think you could go through additional exam questions, familiarize yourself with all of that, and I think you will be able to pass your exam. So congrats, and if you take this series and you're able to succeed in your exam, please let me know in the comment section. And don't forget to share this to as many that are interested in generative AI, as many that want to take the exams, as many that need mentorship. If you intend to take additional Google certifications, you could reach out to us, join our mentorship program. We have paid mentorship program. You could join us and get that sorted out. Don't forget to subscribe and inform others.